Hi, it's Maya, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can edit your videos to look more cinematic on Adobe Premiere. You can check out my latest short film, Flash, in the description or on my channel, which I'll be using as an example throughout this video. The first one that is so important is color correction.
Add a little bit of spice.
So I pulled up my project here, I go right to the color panel. I have this kind of grayish shot that I want to look more beautiful. So first, adjusting the white balance gives it more of what tone of hue lighting you want it to have, and I'm turning that a little orange here. And then in the sliders below, you can adjust the exposure and contrast and things like that, just so that you have a more visually appetizing shot. But what's important is below. So this faded film is a god. Turn that up. It makes your shots look more like a film, I guess. And if you want your shot to have a specific color mood, adjusting these little donut things, I wanted this to be golden, so turning up those little golden donuts makes it look like a color theme. Another thing that can be really helpful is playing with your aspect ratio. If you do a Google image search for letterbox PNG, there are tons of different letterboxes you can download. Then you can drag and drop that on top of your clip to give it the kind of look that you want. I like this wide window look. Then in effect controls, you can resize and reposition your clip so that it fits in there, and it looks kind of cool. And there's lots of different aspect ratios you can experiment with to get the cinematic look that you want. Another super helpful trick that Premiere has in its effects panel is warp stabilizer, which can help your video be a lot less shaky. So as you can see, the shot that I have here is a little bit wobbly. So I'm going to go to the effects panel and search for warp stabilizer and drag and drop that onto the clip, and as you can see, it starts rendering. And if you go to the effects panel, you can see the progress your computer is making on that rendering. And I don't really want it to move, so I'm going to change this to no motion. And if you were having a seizure or something, you might want to change from subspace warp to a less aggressive technique of warp stabilizing, but I'm going to stick with subspace warp. And once I do that, you can see it's finished rendering, and if I go through that, it's all so smooth and pretty. If you shot your video on a more simple camera or even an iPhone, chances are you did not have very much depth of field in your shots. However, you can try and manipulate this effect using masking and Gaussian blur in Premiere. So I have this clip here, nothing special, it's all in focus, but if I hold Alt and drag up, and then use the opacity pen thing to outline what I want to stay in focus in my shot, which can be kind of tedious and annoying, but boom, it's done. Now I'm going to go to the bottom clip and search blur, and the blur that you're going to want to use is Gaussian blur. So drag and drop that onto the clip, and then go scroll to the effects panel where it is and bring that up a little bit. You don't want to do it too much because then you're going to be able to see the line that you made, and that's kind of ugly. Just a little bit is very nice. And now, but you can see the character moves, which is a problem. So you go back to your mask, opacity mask, and you hit the keyframe button, which will make it so that your mask can move with the character as you move it. So you can see that it's creating keyframes as I move the mask, and so that the mask will follow the character. So you can still see a little bit of line in this, so if you go to mask feather and bring that up, it'll make sure that the transition between blurred and not blurred is a little bit smoother. And now it looks more interesting than it did before. One last rule that will help your video have a lot better flow is neutral frames in transition. A neutral frame is essentially a shot where there's nothing to look at, and it's a little bit of a relaxing breath for the audience in between scenes. In this transition here, I used to go straight from running to this next scene, which was a completely different time much later. And so I had a cross dissolve, which is a form of neutral frame, so that the transition would be a little bit more of a break. But if I wanted to make it even more of a breath, I could add in a neutral frame in between, In this case, I used a city, and that lets the viewers breathe a little bit more and helps the flow of your video. These are all of the easy tricks that I've tallied up so far. If you have any more, let me know or comment them, and I hope this helps you make better videos. Goodbye.